Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. So always appreciate it. This is the vault, episode 318, how to prepare an estate properly. Once again, this is Trust Christian in the vault. Own nothing, control everything. The vault, episode 318, how to prepare an estate properly. So, as we gone through the years, we just want to say always thank you for all the listeners that listen live, all the listeners that listen to the replay. It's always appreciated. Feel free to type into the chat where you're listening live or listening to replay from. We always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. It's always, the topics that we talk about are literally pages to, people's questions and consultations. And so, because we do have consultations, so if you'd like to get a consultation, it's Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, you just email over Christian at trustchristian.com and we'll get you the details on how to get a consultation. How to prepare an estate properly is going to be a great episode, but we always appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. So, I appreciate the Bronx for tuning in live, listening to replay, and definitely appreciate Dania Beach, Florida for tuning in live, listening to replay. Appreciate you all for tuning in live, listening to replay. Once again, long time listeners. If this is your first episode, always appreciate you for tuning in live, listening to replay. So, this episode, how to prepare an estate properly, we could consider it, another page in a book where we're talking to families that may not even have a will for an heir that may be handicapped or impaired. And so when we talk about an estate, we're talking about assets. Traditionally, we always will having a disclaimer that this isn't legal advice, so we always have to share that with everyone. We're having a conversation as we do with our trustees and the trustee training that we have. So this is just a conversation that we have with people that consult with us, and they ask us how to prepare an estate properly, the questions that they may have had, and answers that we may give when we're talking to them, and just whenever really looking to make sure that the estate is properly put together. One of the things that we like to say, and this is surprising to most people, which is the estate is not necessarily always in a decedent's name, not always going to be in a decedent's name. Uh, there's many assets, whether it's companies, whether it's property, and things of that nature. And those things are diversified, possibly in one person's holding, which is possibly the possible decedent or not. But if it's going to be that's the case that this person is passing along assets, when we're talking about a proper education from the vault and trustee training perspective, proper estate trustee training, we're talking about that. So how to prepare an estate properly goes into own nothing, control everything. You don't own anything. So even the person that may be going into a decedent state and an estate of that magnitude has to be in the proper capacity. It has to own nothing, control everything. So we can start moving it along now in the proper capacity with families and heirs. Because it's an estate. So it's multiple heirs that are going to be in place that may manage this asset from time to time. And how do you properly go about doing it? Some people say, well, do you need to consult a lawyer? You definitely need to consult a lawyer, but you need to know what you need a lawyer to do. And a lot of people don't know. So we're here to talk about that. How to prepare an estate properly. You have to know, are is the decedent going to pass along with the will? Are they going to pass along with a company? Are they going to pass along with a trust? Are they going to pass along with a charity? Are they going to pass along with a foundation? What are they going to pass along with in their clutches at that moment? We know people that say, oh, what about power of attorney at the end? How does that help? A lot of people don't even want to be caught in power of attorney at the end of a decedent's, possible decedent's estate because they don't want to be caught in the middle of it. We know children that have consulted with the vote. They don't want to be caught in the middle of it. How do you prepare to estate properly? You got to consult possibly a wealth manager, a private estate manager. You want to consult with at least two or three. Our mentor said always a minimum of two, but possibly three. You're going to consult with at least three estate planners. A lot of times you're going to get the same rhetoric depending on if they know each other or if they're in the same state. When you're talking about setting up an estate, it's not always state germane because assets may be held in multiple jurisdictions. So you may be consulting with lawyers in multiple jurisdictions, and that's favorable in and of itself because the assets may be held in that position where it's not it's not under any particular state laws, but it's still property that's being held in those particular areas. It may adhere to certain laws, things of that nature. And so you have to be aware of the jurisdictional laws that are in those areas when we're talking about the estate and where it's at, because the estate can be property and it can be in multiple jurisdictions. So how do you prepare the estate when it's in multiple jurisdictions? Then we get these people say, "Oh, well, you got to put the estate in your name, and then you got to take it out of the public and put it in the private." First of all, if it began in the public, it stays in the public. That's why our mentors were so cautious about dealing in the public. It's because when you go into the public, you open yourself up for public scrutiny. That's why it's the public. So how do you prepare a private estate properly? Well, you have to own, not to control everything. This is where when we get on the phone with the lawyers, what do they say? Well, why would you want to give up everything? You will never be able to get it back. Well, that's the whole point. But I see when you're on their side, they get paid for doing probate lawyering and all that good stuff. How do you prepare an estate properly? Once again, you consult with at least two to three estate. We don't just say lawyers. You can say estate planners. Usually have an estate planner, and they're generally, just remember, ladies and gentlemen, these aren't the people on the public side. They're going to give you public information. We definitely are very aware of that, but you have to get at least your feet wet and be familiar with the terminology and the plans that these people are going to put you through. We've had people on so when you usually go to the private estate side or the estate side, you're gonna run into more of the financial planners that are on the private side. They're financial planners. Estate planners are going to be able to look at, okay, this is how much you're making, this is how much you're spending. Let's create a plan for savings, quote unquote, and retirement. And then, if not, passing on the estate in a correct position properly, then that would mean through the proper entities. This is where they're going to start introducing to you these contracts. This is where they're going to start introducing to you these contracts, a will. And if you're not familiar with contract language, it's going to be rather challenging to work with these people because these people are speaking a specific language, financial language, and otherwise. So when you're talking about preparing an estate, we know so many people that have reached out for consultations, and the language is so critical, and we share that with all the people that reach out to the vault through consultations and even trustee training. Is that the language is so important when you're walking in and sitting down with a financial planner, quote unquote, an estate planner, and we're talking about that on the public side. And just remember, they have public education, they have a public degree. We're talking about private trusteeship relationship. There's definitely a clear difference between public and private. Just like saying that a living trust can never be private. A living trust is living for a reason. It has the grantor still in control of assets. It's a grantor type trust. Did you create the trust? Did you create the trust? Those are critical steps in preparing the estate properly. Did the potential decedent create the trust? And are they still in control of assets? These are things that we have to ask. And so this is what people come to the vault to get those questions for. They contact the vault just to even get those questions to go talk to those two to three lawyers. And we're happy to do an hour consultation with trust people that reach out to the vault and actually give them an hour's worth of conversation for a lawyer. It doesn't have to be us just sitting on here telling you all how to do it. It's actually asking you all enough questions within a period of 10 to 15 to 20 minutes to where when you get on the phone, you're going to be sitting on the phone with them for 20 or 30 minutes for them to have to explain what is it that they're looking to help you do when you're asking them, specific questions about your needs, particularly passing it along in a minimized manner, whether it's liability, what liabilities can they eliminate, things of that nature. So people say, "Oh, what about the account? Do you need to get the account? Do you need to go get the lawyer right now?" Once again, you're going to interview to consult with these individuals and see, if their situation works for you. So you might even go through more lawyers than that. And this is the interesting and odd part about trusteeship is so many people are just not aware that you actually will have to interview more than one lawyer, two lawyers, three lawyers, four lawyers, and you have to go through the gambit. Now, we share with you specific style of lawyers, so we're sharing with you all estate planners, which make it a lot easier. Every lawyer is not an estate planner, so we don't just say, "Oh, you go to a lawyer." You go to an estate planner. Generally, they do have some type of financial background. They're not just a lawyer. They may not just be even a financial planner, but they usually kind of coincide. They usually have some type of legal person in that environment, so they can do notaries for wills, things of that nature. Especially when you're talking about an estate plan, they're definitely talking about will. You're talking about trust and things of that nature. And then when you even hear wealthier people say, "Oh, I'm not going to give the money to my children. I'm going to give it to charity." These are things that are put into the estate plan properly. This is why you see the Zuckerberg Foundation. You see Facebook, you see all of the company's holdings, Instagram and otherwise, but you see him still have a charitable element to his lifestyle, which mimics one of his mentors, which is Bill Gates. So, a proper how to prepare an estate properly is definitely by connecting with the right people. You have to be able to pay for this level of information when we're talking about preparing an estate because it's very specific to everyone's situation. Um, and that's very, very important for everyone to understand. So when you listen to information, it has to deal with you planning out your financial plan. We encourage trustees to get financial plans. How can you be successful if you don't have a financial plan? That's odd. But we're talking about financial plans. We're talking about them being specific. Usually, those people are usually going to be your financial planners. And those people are dealing with insurance, dealing with preserving the wealth because the money that's coming in is a depreciating asset. And by us as trustees knowing that the money coming in is a depreciating asset, we know that you have to have insurance on your money, just like everything else. The game of life, pretty much for the past 1,000 years plus, for at least for the past 500 to 1,000 years, and maybe even a little bit longer, just from our research, easy is that everything's been in trust, everything's been in contract, and because that's the case, companies like Lloyd's of London have been able to operate for hundreds of years because that's the greatest investment vehicle, the greatest wealth preservation tool ever created so far. When we talk about compound interest, when we talk about our mentors and talk about things such as compound interest, when you talk about life insurance policies and insurance policies and things of that nature, being able to have them as even an asset on the books, so many people are not aware that these things are assets on the books. These are assets on the books. And so when people understand that, the estate can be set up properly. A lot of people may not know that, insurance is an asset. It's not, oh, it's just a bill like the cable or the TV or the car. It's actually an asset. So how do you prepare an estate properly is okay, are you passing along the insurance nakedly to your heirs directly, or is it being passed along through some type of vehicle, through some type of entity? Because there's a tax liability, things called inheritance tax, things called an estate tax. Now, of course, the laws fluctuate, but remember, that's on the public side. So the laws are going to fluctuate. But how do you do it privately, properly? Own nothing, control everything. How to prepare an estate properly? Own nothing, control everything. So when we talk about getting rid of ownership, how many people are their entire lives are tangled up in ownership? And so, of course, this can be a detanglement towards whether it's the end of an estate. Let's just say we'll break it down. So there's many people that reach out to the vault. We'll say that the people that reach out to the vault from 20 to 30, as a blanket statement, estate planning looks like you having a financial plan in place. And we could almost say, when we were in our early 20s, our mentors always encouraged us to have a retirement date. What date were you going to sell your first business? Things of that nature. Before 30, before 32, when were you going to sell your first business? These are part of the estate plan because you have assets, and so it was always an asset management mentality. Um, and that's the bottom line. So when we talk about how to prepare an estate properly, we're talking about 20s to 30s, definitely focused on creating any asset that you can sell and go into other ventures to have a bigger estate. Anywhere from 30 to 40, we're looking at people that have been seasoned in careers, people that have acquired some level of assets. Maybe two, three, four properties, may have two, three, four businesses at this point that are successful, netting over $100,000, netting over $1 million each year. These are people that they pretty much have to have a lawyer. They can't just have a financial plan. Even in the beginning, you should have a lawyer around, but these are people that have to have people that can do titles to property, making sure the property is titled to the proper people, making sure that they have a good accountant at this point. Should definitely have a good accountant at that point in between in your 30s. Should have had one in your 20s, but sometimes in your 20s you might have to go through more people. It's unfortunate most people won't go through enough people, so they'll still be experiencing the residual of not having good accountants and lawyers in their 30s. And you have to find those people. And it's not just those people; it's many more people. So then we get into your 30s to 40s. We're talking, once again, you see the team that we're talking. Business is a team sport at this point. At this point, you might have an assistant, you might have two, you might have a bookkeeper that you can consistently retain for two to three to $500, maybe $1,000 a month to retain them to do books every single month for the company. That means they're just doing a secondhand checklist over the companies, maybe even over the entire estate. Maybe you pay someone $500 to $1,000, maybe even in some states nowadays, you could be spending upwards of $2,000 to $3,000 a month on someone literally doing an internal audit every single month. But when you're talking about moving millions of dollars around as an entrepreneur investor, paying somebody $2,000 a month is minuscule to literally audit the companies that may be under that one estate. So we're talking about people that have big estates and not, and people that have maybe smaller estates in their 30s, because that's where the wealth gap really gets separated. You start seeing people pull away in their 30s. You see other people, kind of feel like they're still on the rat race. And then once we get to the 40s, we start seeing for sure detailed levels of planning when it comes to financial estate. At this point, people have amassed they're sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're sitting on millions of dollars, a million or a million, two, three, four, five plus. Where they're sitting on hundreds. I mean, they're in their 40s at this point. So we could see individuals sitting on cash. They have cash. They're still looking to diversify. They're looking to never go backwards. So they're looking to keep out those funds working for them because they understand that that's what has them in a position right now to continue to move forward. So in between what our consultations get from in their 40s, the traditional client, traditional trustee is going to be in a position where they have assets, they have property once again, they have liquid cash, they have assets in general that they are looking to prepare because, these are the sandwich generations. We get a lot of 40s, pushing 50s that are taking care of their parents, things of that nature, and they're having to pretty much now have to deal with two estates, which is their personal estate and dealing with their parents' estate that may or may not be in shambles. And in turn, by families having to help their families and particularly their mother or their father, you're seeing people have to put together a bigger estate because now we see families having to allocate to brothers and sisters and cousins, nieces and nephews, whereas traditionally they would just have to, traditionally in most estate planning, it would be focused on people allocating property specifically to their children, and or to entities or charities, things of that nature. But when you get into a situation where you're having to take care of a parent, you're having to possibly take care of a brother, partial brother's estate or partial sister's estate, because the family may have not set up that estate. And we get that all the time. We get that all the time. Hey, my mom and dad didn't set up the estate. We got to set it up for them. Okay. So you got to set up the estate for your parents, and that's going to slow you down because their estate wasn't put together. And we have trustees that definitely have millions of dollars that they are having to manage, let alone having to deal with their parents. So, how do you prepare an estate properly? Put yourself in a position where you consult, you're staying in the student mode, staying in the learning mode. Appreciate Carrollton, Ohio for tuning in live, listen to replay. Shout out to Carrollton, Ohio. How to prepare an estate properly. This is about paying for the education. You're paying to have a good team around you. We always share with our trustees, go find the best estate attorneys in your area. Always go find the best lawyers in your area. Go find the best contractors in your area. You get what you pay for. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We're in the environment called assets under management. We're in OPM. We're not in you owning money because we don't own money. So it's AUM. It's assets under management. It's a management skill. That's all it's about. How do you prepare properly? By building a team. And we mentioned you find the best. You get what you pay for. You're not using your own money. It's OPM. Go out and find the best people. You can do contract for work. When the work is needed, that's when you pay them. Otherwise, it's a consultation. What's your hourly rate for a consultation? These are questions that you ask when you contact a lawyer or account so you can have counsel around. Nobody's services are free. These people went to school for went to school for 6 to 8, 4 to 6 to 8 years, and they would like to be compensated. The lawyers and doctors are still in the highest amount of debt. So of course they need to be compensated, you all. But once again, when you're on the public side, we're actually talking now. We're really talking that they're public. So you will have to you're seeking out private alternatives. You're seeking out how to prepare and private estate properly. You're going to seek that out through people that not necessarily purport that they're private, but because we always tell people if you're going to find a private lawyer, just Google it. Google private lawyer, private accountant. These are people that they have a certain level of anonymity in the first place, but these people are around, and we know that there are people that private attorneys sometimes look like which is great counsel, people that haven't taken the bar. Somebody hasn't taken the bar, but they have a law degree. They haven't taken the bar, but they have a law degree. These are people that we're familiar with, that they know the law, they got the degree, they just didn't go take the bar. They're not practicing law. They're actually building companies. Did you know that lawyers go to law school and still build companies? These people are not all lawyers. So you can find these counsel when you're in the Chamber of Commerce. You can find these counsel in the private estate planning business offices. And we even challenge people to go to the wealth management offices, because in the wealth management offices, you're going to make a demand for a higher level of competency when it comes to estate planning, whether it's in trust, whether it's in wills, whether it's in, you're paying for them because they're going to get you the contracts. But once again, no need to fear. All you got to do is just find other people's money to fund the project. That's how it is, ladies and gentlemen. And it's the difference between the worker and the entrepreneur mentality. Is, are you going to be able to use OPM in a system that is built on OPM? Other people's efforts and other people's money. So how do you prepare an estate properly? You build a team. You seek out those people. You seek out the education. You study when you do find this information. You go to find it. We'll share this. You go to the American Bankers Association meetings. Why no one tells you that in the public side? Oh, is something wrong with that? The room is full of lawyers. They're full of financial people, securities agents, things of that nature. Some people may find it as a waste of time. Why would you not get the publication from the American Bankers Association that shares with you how to make sure that assets are properly held and not held? These are lawyers and accountants and CPAs and enrolled agents and many different type of people having conversations through publications and meetings. Not just a banker. The ones that are the head. These American Bankers Association doesn't even just have tellers coming in the room. It has people that are in the environment, that are wealth managers, that work for investment banks. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate it. Christian at trustchristian.com. Feel free to reach out if you want to get a consultation. Once again, Christian at trustchristian.com if you'd like to get a consultation. Want to find out how to prepare your estate properly, more in depth. But how to prepare your estate properly. We know we didn't say, oh, you got to do this or you got to do that. Why do you got to do it? What you got to do is own nothing, control everything, because it's a trick. How can you own something? You can't own it. You just control it. But because you own it, it's going to be passed along in the improper position, where the proper position is own nothing, control everything. That's the name of the game. That's the difference maker. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Feel free to reach out, Christian@trustchristian.com. We already got our next workshop planned out. We're working on some webinars with Cornell the Trader. Look forward to hearing from you all. Christian@trustchristian.com. Peace.